This a song for everybody. Cause we can't do it on our own. Everybody needs somebody. So why you think I made this song?
Welcome in, Culture Warriors. Today we are discussing cultural appropriation. For those of you who do not know, cultural appropriation, or misappropriation that is the adoption of elements from one culture by members of another culture. You're probably thinking, what is the harm in that? Well, let me explain. The line is drawn when dominant cultures appropriate from disadvantaged minority cultures while presenting these practices as their own. For example, this could be something as simple as a hairstyle. For many years, black women was looked at as ghetto or even ratchet for wearing cornrows in a public setting. However, when a white woman does it, it is looked at as innovative or fashionable. Stay locked in and share now as we dive more into this topic with my co-host as well as with our special guest. Today, the ITM talk show family would like to welcome QL. QL is the leading voice of the upstate with the heart of a dreamer to become the consummate voice, not only in radio, but to later venture into television. QL is an ambitious young man committed to his community activism, ambassadorship, and excellence to champion his dream to become a media mogul. Please help me welcome QL. Welcome in, everyone. QL, thank you for being a part of our conversation today. So what differentiates cultural appropriation and freedom of expression?
Freedom of expression, and there can be overlapping actually. I think you have freedom to do whatever you want to do.
Most definitely.
I think that is given right now. Is it feasible, or if it's something that you should do is another thing. But cultural appropriation outright is taking someone else's culture, magnifying it as your own, reaping the financial or the clout benefits out of it.
Yes.
But it's very interesting, though, when you talk about culture appropriation, because I've seen, other individuals outside of the African-American race, use some of the things that we've used as regards to maybe different slang or, the way we wear clothes or things like that. And I don't think they think too deep about, is it offensive to the African-American community?
That's a hard one for me, only because I do think sometimes, even though some cultures and some things, especially even ours, is subjective. So it's very hard sometimes to tell. It's very hard to tell the white girl that grew up down the street, and right, that's the culture she's always known that you're having. You know what I mean? That's cultural appropriation. Now, when you're making money off of it, like Shem said, then that's when it does become an issue. But it is. If that's all you know, then that's going to be the only thing you actually.
If you were raised in a house that your mom and your dad played R&B or Motown your whole entire life, that's all you know, then I think it's wrong for me to then look at you and be like, you're culturally inappropriate.
Cardi B, for an example, So when Cardi B first came out, she was very big on using the N-word, and I kind of thought like, well, if there was another Hispanic girl using the N-word, we would all literally, go down their throat for that. But Cardi B, I guess because she was raised in the same culture, I guess it's like more acceptable for her to do it, to whereas if J-Lo came out and decided to use the N-word, it wouldn't work that same way, right?
I don't think that I will ever be okay with a person that is not of African-American descent or anything, okay with saying the N-word or anything of that nature. I just think that I know the history of it. I know where it has come to now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think putting those two things together, cultural appropriateness and using the N-word, right, we talking about apples and oranges here, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that line is drawn, period. Like, even if you are culturally accepted, then know the line is drawn. Just, know who house you in, you know what I'm saying? So that's different.
Like Solange, she brings a lot of, Yoruba, Orisha. She doesn't quite directly come from that culture. She comes from an American background, but she has educated herself on what it is, so she uses it in her art form. I think that's where it's okay.
Yeah, and I think they're able to reach a different demographic of people. Right. So when you're a celebrity or something, you can't be boxed in. They don't want to be boxed in and just being accepted by them, because we buy records, so they we got to go out here and reach other people, and the only way to do that is to tap into a different kind of culture.
And perfect example, Rihanna, she recently just did Harper Bazaar magazine, and I think it was for China, I believe. So she had on like this dress, and she had on this hat, and she had on like this red rope that went around her waist. And of course, a lot of the, her Chinese fans, they really kind of drug her through the dirt because they felt as if she didn't understand what that rope meant and why she was wearing that, or she didn't understand what that dress meant and what that hat meant. But in a way, the money is there too. And I think she did that, to please her fans, of the Chinese descent. But then in a way, some people do feel, offensive by that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the one thing I've never understood, like for me, I was standing with a young lady, and she got very offended at someone not of our culture having braids and everything.
But what's the issue with that?
But I was standing there next to her like, but you got like 3 bundles in like right now. So it's like, but it's like, I mean, it's like an even swap out here. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to look at it. If you look at it from that perception, then you got to look at everything that we do that could be deemed, oh, you acting not black or not from your culture. We spend a lot of money on makeup, bundles, hair, and everything. That last time I checked, that hair ain't culturally appropriate. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to look at it a different way too.
And I would make sure that even when I say something, even if I am offended, I don't want them to receive it that way, because not everybody understands. Again, it's subjective. So you want to make sure that when you're talking to somebody that you're doing it productively, so that they do understand, what you have on or how it's offensive. Because a lot of people do things, again, to be trendy, not realizing, oh, okay. There's plenty of people, for me, even like the Unk. When I see it and I see people have it on and it's diamond out and decked out, and knowing that there's something that's near and dear to my heart because it's something that I've studied with my grandfather growing up, I have to, draw back and have to understand, like, hey, I just asked, start conversation. Do you know what that means? Or
and approach them with facts. Like, you cannot approach them with, I just don't like it. Like, just because you don't like it is not a reason to be offended because it, approach them with facts and knowledge. This is an opportunity for you to bridge the gap and cultivate a conversation with these people that could bring both of you to a new enlightenment. Don't just be like, well, I wish you wouldn't do that because it ain't cool. Okay, whatever. Like, facts.
But yeah, this was a dope conversation. I think for most people that, didn't necessarily understand what it means, I think they definitely grasp the understanding of what it means and proper ways to do it in proper ways. But the main thing is making sure that you are educating yourselves on the culture first and being able to be respectful when you do that.
Do the research.
Definitely research. It don't even take long to do research at times.
Just Google it.
at the internet.
Google it.
You got audio books. Yeah, it's all kind of stuff. You can do it.
But
you can read.
QL, thank you for being a part of our conversation again, man. Just go ahead and give the people your social media handles and any upcoming things that you have coming.
Awesome. Well, of course, you guys can check me out on 96 through the block and Spartanburg 104.5 Monday through Fridays, 3 to 7 on the Drive Home with QL. And you can hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff that connect QL. Continue to support these people. Lonnie, Shimmy, Jeremiah, Christian, thank you guys so much for the invite to come over here. It's always home when I come to the in the middle circle.
Yeah, because this is your second
My
round.
time, yeah.
Yeah, he said he's a veteran to this. Hey, there we go. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure that you catch our next week's episode of In the Middle. And until next time.
Everybody need everybody, but ain't nobody talking about that. Plenty times I've been down and out, they reach for help just to bounce back. That's why the whole culture got my back, so I can keep my eyes to the front. And when my team picking up my slack, they don't mind cause we all one. If you depressed, then don't be too stressed to beg someone to help you out that mess. And if they beg, then be sure to try your best to make sure the stress is less. Cause nothing worse than crying out for help and nobody helps. And everybody else seem way more than happy with theyself. But on the inside it's pain that's felt. Feet don't fail me now. Everybody that I grew up with, yeah, they held me down. Never left and they still around. Plus we rep culture shift and we wear it proud.